Drivers in the GTO class have reason to be concerned. After last season's whipping at the hands of Leskala, surely none of them want to witness that sort of story unfold again. But Yuko has kicked off the season with back-to-back wins and shows no signs of slowing. Can Interlagos be the place where someone can reverse the trend? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 3 of the iRacing Kamel GT series. And you'll see it all live here on the global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Interlagos is more often associated with open-wheelers such as Formula 1, but has seen its fair share of sports car racing. Let's head to our track guide to learn a little bit more about it. Welcome to Autodromos Jose Carlos Pache. Most fans and drivers simply know this place as Interlagos. Starting life as an absolute behemoth of a circuit, this Brazilian track was eventually truncated to the version you see today. Having hosted Formula 1 for roughly 3 decades, it's become very well known on the international stage. But it has also held rounds in the World Endurance Championship, as well as frequently seen Brazilian stock cars, motorcycles, and even truck racing. There's little difference between its two layouts, which includes the GP course and the Moto course, which simply adds a chicane to the end of the lap. In both cases, it's a tale of two circuits. The run past the start-finish line and into the Senna S, followed by the blast towards the Descida do Lago, are very high-speed sections that come back-to-back. Drivers will need to focus on top end in order to attack or defend. Expect most passes to happen in those two corners. But from Ferradura until Juchao, the track suddenly twists itself into a mess of hairpins and frustratingly technical turns. This can make car setup a real compromise, and for the latter part of the lap, an absolute pain when dealing with traffic. Pit exit is also a narrow affair, so it requires drivers to take care when trying to maximize their outlaps. On the upside, with this being a modern F1 track, there's paved runoff in abundance at many of the fast corners. The passion of the Brazilian fans always comes out in force at races, and it's no wonder with this picturesque track sandwiched right amongst the neighborhoods of Sao Paulo. Oh, Adam, this is going to be a fascinating one. As I often say, this feels like a circuit of two halves, if you will.
Yeah, for sure, Joe. But Interlagos is personally my favorite track in all of auto racing. This sweeping, elevation-filled 2.67 mile or 4.3 kilometer 15-turn circuit is a challenge for any driver and any car. But when you get this place right, it has a flow like no other circuit in racing. With the adjustments of the tires and the brakes for these cars this season, the dynamic of the racing this track has changed. The Nissans have cut down their lap time by a few seconds due to the increased grip in the center of the corner, but the increased tire wear will make pushing very dangerous early on, and the brake fade will make late race moves challenging as well, setting up an interesting dichotomy. Do you get track position early but have no tires to defend, or do you be gentle on the car and trying to use the tires and brakes you saved to cut through the field late? The Audis are also dealing with increased tire wear, and at high speed, a sweeping track like this, they're going to be struggling for the last half of this race to keep the pace up, even if they save the tires early. Multi-class here is a serious challenge as well, with the section between Ferradura and Mugello a serious danger zone for passing, which will make the Nissans more likely to try some desperate moves to get by. This season has added a lot of complexity to the driving and the strategy, Joe, and this weekend looks like it's going to be no different.
Well, why don't we take a look at the championship, because that's gotten interesting in the prototypes, at least after the first round. Alex Gall leads after his win because he took second place out at Road America. Now, Millward finished third last week, which is why you see him 2 points behind Alex Gall, even though they're tied on wins. Hovdal is 9 points back from Alex Gall as well, but Hovdal's been very consistent this season. He seems to have stepped up his game all around, so he could be a threat. Tobias Gerber, well back, and same thing with Fabian Jungluth, a point splitting the pair of them. What about those GTO standings here, Adam?
Well, as you said, Yuka Leskala, 2 poles and 2 wins already over Reed Miller by 10 points. Then we got Niels Core, 18 points back. Ian Haycock's 23 points back. And then Robin Happich right behind Ian, 24 points back. But that being said, Yuka with 2 poles and 2 wins, somebody's got to get up and challenge him. And while Phil Lake is here, I'd like to put out an open call. This is an open series. Anyone can jump in at any point. So if you feel like you're a fast driver and you want to challenge, jump into that Audi GTO and give Yuka Leskala a run for his money this season.
We'll see if anybody answers the call, but maybe they'll want to know how this race will go before they hop in. So let's look at the details. We're in round 3 this afternoon. It is a 40-minute race, so it's their sprint format, and it's an open setup series. But if you're new to this car, don't worry. You can hop over to the forums, and the driver's actually pretty welcoming and will offer you up some setups if you don't have one to plop on the car. But they have no fast repairs, so if you wind up getting damage, and it's easy to do in this series because it can be chaotic, you can't hop into the pits and get yourself a spare car. They do have some incident limits, including a penalty with a drive-through or a complete disqualification. Right now, we've got the qualifying happening, and Alex Gall has the fastest lap for the first time through, Hovdahl following him. Hugh Haycox and Ian Haycox are both back and looking quite quick in the GTOs.
Yeah, that being said, Yuka Leskala, Vili Rolla, and Phil Lake have yet to set their times. I'm expecting those 3 to be at the top of the charts, along with Ove Trangarade and Reed Miller to follow in closely behind. But that being said, as everyone starts to put in their times, Roman Pawlowski jumps up to second in the Audis, with Matthias Hovdahl, like you said, second in the GTPs, with Tobias Gerber in third. Here comes Fabian Gerber, though, about to set his first lap.
Who would have thought? This is the man that we're not talking about this season. You didn't even see him in the top 5 in the points as Gerber crosses the line at 28.604. And that is not going to get him in contention, unfortunately, as we take a look at Hovdahl. And his second lap was not faster, so Hovdahl stays in second place, just about 2/10, almost 3/10 off of Gall.
Look at this, Vili Rolla up to the pole of the GTOs. Yuka Leskala currently in second place. Phil Lake, he's on his second lap, but unfortunately his first lap didn't count. He's coming off the final corner now as Ove Trangarade crosses the line at 132.162. It looks like that one didn't count. Here's Hugh Haycox coming across, currently in third position. A good starting position for him. Not faster. Here's Phil, though, a 132.212, and it looks like that's going to put him up to third place.
Whew. So sneaks in, and he'll at least be up towards the front as Ben Laughter crosses. He improves up to 7th, still a bit down for that 18 car. Roman Pawlowski, in the meantime, a 131.3 will jump him up 2 spots into 4th.
Fabian Gerber just coming off the final corner now, looking at him to try and get up onto that front row. He has not had any luck this season at all. Here he comes through the final set of corners, sweeping down in front of the pit straight, going past the pit entry and crossing the line. What time is he going to set? A 120.2233, and it does stick, puts him onto the front row. Second place.
Yeah, first one didn't count. That's why we didn't see him pop onto the board as Vili Rolla on his second lap. What is this going to be worth? Across the line, a 30.984, half a tenth slower than his quickest, means that he cannot challenge Leskala.
Kreischer crosses the line about a quarter of a second faster, puts him up to 10th position. And then we got Joe Lafilippe, who's also about to finish. Hideki Koivisto trying to cross the line and improve from a 134.184. Looks like he's going to do that with a 133.287 as he crosses the line. Looks like that's going to move him up to 18th position. Ove Trangarade still hasn't set a time, but just now does. 6th position for him on the starting grid.
Let's see, do we have anybody left? Robert Murphy's already finished both of his laps. And yes, that will be everybody. Qualifying has finished here today. We'll get to that grid in a little bit of a moment, but as you mentioned, it seems that a few are struggling out there. Even one of our GTO drivers, Ben Laughter, mentioned he is not happy with his result here today, as that puts him down in 11th in the class, unfortunately. Riding on board through this infield section with Koivisto as he continues to practice. Good news is it looks like the temperatures aren't too bad out here today, Adam, as sometimes they can be a little toasty down here in Brazil.
Absolutely. 91 track temp is actually pretty decent for Interlagos, at least when you don't have cloud cover, 33 Celsius. But that being said, one of the reasons why the Audis are struggling is because of the new tire model. It takes a little bit longer for them to warm up their tires. So that second lap in the Audi is faster, but especially if you've been pushing the first lap, you can actually have a little bit of tire wear that affects your lap time and affects your turn in. And it's hard to get the tires all into temperature at the same time until you get into a race scenario. So here we see Hideki Koivisto coming across the line. He's currently looked at on the 18th position, but Hideki getting some extra qualifying in today.
Yeah, both he and Trangarade are just out there circulating to try and make sure that they've got enough speed and are happy with how the car is handling for today's event. But as we mentioned, the qualifying has already finished and everybody is locked in to a rather large field as well. I believe we've got 45 drivers I'm seeing that should be taking part with not that long of a lap. That is going to be a real challenge for everybody to try and keep it clean and keep out of everybody else's way. Looks like we've switched over as the drivers now head off to line up behind the pace car. So let's go through our starting order. Alex Gall is on the pole with Fabian Gerber starting in second. Gerber still looking for his first win of the season. Sanchez, great lap from him for third. Matthias Hovdahl will be P4. Inside of row 3, it's Tobias Gerber in 5th and Nick Schneider in 6th. Heitor Sindez Guindo starts P7 with Nick Mukanos in P8. Laust Olsen starts 9th and Martin Krejcik in P10. Stephen Warkup managed 11th. He's got Javier Mosquera in P12. Joe Lafilippe in P13. He's got Jonathan Rickard to his outside. Paul Duke is next in 15th. And then Thomas Pascal Lauenstein is in 16th. Patrick Heering, P17. Finn Danger, 18th. And the last two are Logan Newcomb in 19th and Zach Sears in 20th, with Fonseca, Otero, and Gleason failing to put a time in.
Yuko Leskola takes the pole in the Audis once again, a third pole on the season. Wow, it's an amazing streak he's got going. But Billy Rolla gonna try and give him a run for his money, only two tenths behind in second. Phil Lake lines up third, 4 tenths behind Rolla, with Roman Pavlowski lining up in fourth. Hugh Haycox really has improved over last season and now starts off in the 5th position. Let's see if he can keep that going in the race. Ove Trangarade starts off 6th, not the greatest qualifying for him, but a decent starting position nonetheless. Reed Miller a couple positions back from his usual 5th, currently in 7th. Sean Campbell in 8th, with Max Mayday Thomas in 9th, and Franco Scurry starting off in the 10th position. Big hello to Franco, awesome to see him back in the series. Ben Lafter is going to start off 11th, with Ian Haycox in 12th. Brian Shanahan 13th, with Robin Happich in 14th. Oren Laskin starting off in 15th, next to Jamie Hamill-Smith 16th. Albrecht Liebenau is going to start off at 17th, with Hideki Koivisto, Robert Murphy, and Mike DePaul. Last cars to set qualifying times. And we have Pablo Rangel and Christian Arribas rounding out the 22-car Audi field and the 45-car field for the race today.
As they already have taken off behind our Porsche pace car, getting ready to kick things off. You can see quite a bit of the field in front of us now as we work our way through the latter half of the course. Now, interesting to note, we do not have Millward here with us today. So Alex Gall has a good shot to try and stretch himself away from his rival in the points. Fabian Gerber, though, has got to play a lot of catch-up. He will have drop weeks come into effect later on in the season, but he is under the gun to perform from the word go here today. We'll see how he manages that. And can anybody try and challenge either of those two? Because Sanchez looks quick, and that's not a name that we've certainly seen in past seasons fighting for victories here in the Kamel GT series. What about Matthias Hovdahl, who suddenly has gone from occasional race winner to now serious challenger at the front week in and week out? So maybe he could be one to look out for. Tobias Gerber desperately needing a victory after being up towards the front and qualifying many a weekend and a week that we've had these races. I'm sure he's hungry for a victory as green flag waves, and Alex Gall has a very late start. It looks like, oh, we got a big wreck in the back. I think that's Mukanos who gets turned around. A few drivers having to scatter, and there you can see them don't even make the first corner. A few more coming together down into the Senna S. It's a messy start, but let's go to the GTOs.
GTOs had to back out a lot because of that start. The GTOs being very, very cautious and very kind to each other actually on this first lap. Billy Rolla had plenty of opportunities to get by Yuka Leskala, but Leskala had to check up because of the GTPs that had wrecked ahead of them, but now they're all starting to get racing for earnest now.
It looks like Warcup was the one that got turned around in that second incident. Two completely separate wrecks at the very start of the race has taken out or damaged many of our prototypes as you see them head through the infield portion now. Alex Gall still leads ahead of Fabian Gerber, but Sanchez with a big gap up to them, 1.3 seconds, and they're not even done with the first lap.
No, it's a huge gap for sure. The GTOs, though, it's very tight actually between Yuka Leskala and Billy Rolla. Hugh Haycox moved up 2 positions in all that confusion. We've actually had Stephen Warkup go around yet again. He's currently on the exit road trying to find his way back as the GTPs continue to brawl ahead of these Audis, though.
This is a huge train as we once again look at Gall coming across the start-finish line. Gerber starts to drop off. Poor exit coming out of junction, and he finds himself a full 1.5 seconds back. Yuko, in the meantime, is not able to put a gap on his rivals. Ruola, Haycox, and Lake are still together. In fact, Lake's got a fantastic run. He's going to try and go around the outside of Hugh Haycox as they approach the first corner, but the Senna S provides later braking for Hugh, and he is going to stay in P3.
That was a good move from Hugh to keep that going, but Phil Lake's going to try and get a good run. Oh, misshift from Hugh Haycox. He tried to get out of the line, but couldn't do so. Roman Pawlowski has to back out of it as well, and that holds up all of them. Hugh Haycox has been struggling with shifting all race long. Looks like Flynn Danger's going to take a tow in the GTPs, but now we got a battle for first between those two guys at the front, Yuka Leskala, Billy Rolla, and then Hugh Haycox misses his braking point. That's going to give an opportunity to Phil Lake to try and make a pass up the inside.
Ooh, a mistake-ridden first couple laps here for Hugh. Lake looking around the outside of Ferradura, backs out of it, almost leaves the door open for Roman. Roman's not able to take advantage, but Reed Miller tries. He gets side by side with Pawlowski. It just doesn't produce a spot.
And this is the greatest place for this kind of pack racing for the Audi. This sweeping, tight section in the middle of the course with Lorena and Pinarello. They're going through Bica de Pato now, taking that right-hander up to Magello. This is going to be a fantastic move for them.
They're really losing ground on Rolla with all this fighting and all the mistakes that we've seen from the number 4 car. Let's see if he can get it smoothly out of the junction, climbing up the hill. This one looks a little better, but now he's got to worry about the slipstream.
Slipstream's a big factor for these Audis for sure, as they're basically just big blocks that push through the air. Tons of turbo power to make up for it, but Phil Lake's going to try and make a move to the inside. Let's see whether Hugh can outbrake him this time again.
Breaking deep down into the Senna S, and he's got it.
Whoa!
Oh, behind him, that was Roman Pawlowski overshooting the corner this time. And Reed Miller sneakily slips through. He'll get into 5th.
Fantastic move from Reed Miller. Just saw both Ove Trankrade and Roman Pawlowski take it too deep into the braking zone, so then he just took it nice and easy and slipped right up the inside. Phil Lake looks like he's secured that position, but we're going to jump up to P4 in the GTPs because we got a nice battle going on there.
Yeah, this is Nick Schneider with Matthias Hovdahl, who lost a spot at the start. Finds himself...
Oh, we were side by side for the lead of the GTOs, Joe. Yuka Leskala and Billy Rolla are side by side as they go through Laranina.
Oh, and it's going to switch back, so that works out well for Leskala, but could we see an over-under? Maybe. Rolla tries to find traction. It's not there. It was a valiant effort, but the two will retain that top spot. You asked if anybody could challenge the Finn, and who else but a fellow Finn?
Absolutely a great battle between these two, and I expect it for the rest of the race. That being said, Yuko's race pace has been better than Billy's over the course of this season when the times that Billy has been able to show up for these races here. But here we go. We're going to hop on back, I believe, and take a look at the start. Is that right, Joe?
Yeah, I think we've got a replay on Mukanos, who was involved in the first wreck, and it was Warcup in the second one. I'm not sure if we'll be able to do that, but this is what happened with Mukanos. Now, I'm not sure if there was just a checkup. I suddenly saw him get shoved around by somebody. You can see it's an incredibly late start.
Mukanos is the red and gold on the outside, almost 3-4 wide. Then he does check up and gets punted. And there's a separate wreck behind them.
And that's not the one with Warcup. Warcup, there's Warcup right there. He gets turned around. I'm trying to remember who it was that made contact with him.
Yeah, so here's Warcup. And everyone's just checking up through turn 1, and the cars behind don't realize it and end up sending Warcup around, unfortunately.
Whoa! And that looked like, I was trying to figure out who that was. It flipped over on their lid even. Unfortunately, we continue on, and Alex Gall still leads at the front of our prototypes. But right now, we're looking at the battle between Hovdal and Schneider, as well as Sanchez and Gerber close together as well. So this is essentially 4 all fighting for what is P2.
Absolutely, and these guys have been very close together for a while. Alex Gall's completely gone at the front of this field by that 4 seconds. But then this battle between Fabian Gerber, Sanchez, Schneider, and Hovdal for that 4th position. And Fabian looks like he's just pacing himself. He doesn't look like he's in a hurry to get away from these guys. I haven't seen him spin the tires or make any sort of moves at all.
Up at the front of the GTOs, rather, Rolla got a great slipstream up the front stretch, but he ran out of track. He's going to have a second bite of the apple, and this actually looks very good. Look at this, less than a car length behind that golden black number 2. As they come down the Retta Aposta, he pokes his nose down to the inside. He's going to have the desired line, but can he complete the pass? Both of them trying to fight the understeer of this car, and it looks like Yuko's got the better acceleration. Oh no, coming back at him, almost drifting into the side of that number 2. Billy Rolla has to fight it all the way around down into Ferradura. He starts to fall back, but then the momentum once again somehow getting the launch just when he needs it. Billy Rolla is keeping this going.
And this has brought Phil Lake back into the picture, because while they're fighting side by side, they're slowing down. So Phil Lake's now up into this. Look at this. Billy Rolla with a great launch off of the corner is able to get the position away from Yuko Leskola. And now Yuko has to worry about Phil Lake behind him.
And he immediately covered off the inside into that corner. He didn't want to give any chance to Leskola to try and fight back. So it is now a 3-car fight for the lead, as Phil Lake is probably watering at the mouth, hoping that they keep that up. He'll get a good tow. Let's see what it looks like down into turn 1.
Phil just does not have the straight line speed that these guys do ahead of him. I'm not sure whether it's the gearing that's affecting him, and I think it probably is. He just doesn't have quite a long enough 3rd gear. Once he gets to 4th, he's fine, but that 3rd gear is just too short for him to stay up there. But here we go. Yuko Leskola thought about making a move, thinks better of it. He's going to try and follow him down until they get to the Retta Aposta and see whether he can make a pass there.
How prophetic has it been, us asking who is going to be able to challenge, and this time we actually do get someone who looks like they've got the pace with Yuko Leskola. And Phil Lake switching back very recently. This is his first race back in a number of races into the GTOs, who's shown he has not missed a trick. Now they have some traffic coming through. This is Stephen Warcup coming from his incident, so they're not getting blue flags for this prototype.
We're going to hop back up to the P3 for the GT3s, because it's really close for the GTBs. Really close there between Sanchez and Schneider as they go side by side heading into Interlagos.
Oh my goodness, I thought Schneider was going to spin the car on entry. He was sailing in nearly to the back of Gerber, but he holds on to the spot. Sanchez, who pokes his nose down to the inside, finds himself instead fighting with Matthias Hovdal. Hovdal looking for the over-under and goes in very deep. Wow, Hovdal gets his 4th place back with a gutsy move.
Gutsy move, because that was Robert T. Murphy. We've actually had a wreck. Looks like Paul Duke is off track right now in the back of the field, but we'll keep our eyes here, because side-by-side contact with Gerber and Brian Shanahan, and this is that danger that I was talking about in this middle sector, Joe.
Which means that Gerber might be pretty damaged. And
Hovdal pushed off track.
There's more of the traffic, not in the great place for Fabian Gerber. Is he going to lack straight line speed here? This is where he'll need it. Nick Schneider starting to reel him in. Logan Newcomb, that's not in a battle for position. That is another of our lapped prototypes. He's going to stay to the outside. And though Schneider is gaining, it's not enough to attack. So it looks like Gerber might be okay here.
This is a gigantic Audi field. We're not used to having over 20 cars in the Audi field here, and it's definitely affecting these GTPs as they're battling. But look at this, Fabian Gerber with not the greatest exit. Nicholas Schneider has to go wide as well, and look at all the weaving and cutting that they have to do. That's a nice battle behind them for the 5th position between Schneider and Aitor Sanchez Guindy, who's now into this battle.
this is where things get frantic.
Oh,
and they're
no.
just threading the needle, and Hovdahl behind them is having to actually go off course again. Remember, he's got to watch out for that because it's only 17 incidents before he gets a drive-through penalty. It's a 40-minute race, so it's not terribly long, but you rack up enough of those, and you're going to find yourself down the order in a flash.
This is one of the things that makes this track so great. It doesn't matter what you're doing, whether it's multi-class or not, but multi-class just gets so chaotic around here. Maximilian Thomason missing the apex is allowing these three guys through, but Fabian still got the pressure from Nicholas Schneider and Hovdahl, both of which are known for trimming out their cars for high speed instead of downforce. We have a brake lockup from Franco Scurry up ahead, who's battling with Roman Pawlowski for 9th and 10th in the Audis, and that's going to allow Fabian Gerber to get through. Roman's going to take a wide line, try and get a better run off the corner, but it's separating that battle as Fabian Gerber, Nicholas Schneider, and now Hovdahl cut through.
Back down to the first corner. Alex Gall is ahead of all of this. Oh, and Schneider's going to take a look. He's going to get it inside, but I think there was some ghost contact that unfortunately sends Gerber out into the grass. Oh, well, Schneider is up in his second. Now he's had a touch with another car. Does he have any sort of damage on that front bodywork? And does Hovdahl have the speed to try and challenge him?
Oh, they're going inside of Sean Campbell right when he needs to be at the apex. Sean's able to make it through, but that holds up Hovdahl a little bit. Schneider a little bit held up because he has to go to the inside of Reed Miller here for that position, and now they're able to both make it through. But man, it's stressful stuff when they're trying to pass these Audis, but now they're all the way up to the battle for 5th and 6th. Ove Traingrade passed Reed Miller about 2 laps ago, and Ove's just really locking up those front tires. Reed Miller putting some heavy pressure on him as Nicholas Schneider and Matthias Hovdahl catch them at literally the worst point on the track.
And it's about to get very interesting because Gall has caught up to that fight for what is now second. Actually, no, it is still for the lead in the GTOs, I should say, as they appear relatively close. But this fight for P2 and the prototypes, when that catches that, it's going to be a perfect storm coming together, unfortunately.
So it looks like they were able to cut through pretty well. Reed Miller was a little bit held up there, and Ove Traingrade as well, so they're going to actually be very close together as they come out up onto the long pit straight. Matthias Hovdahl is just a little bit too far back, but look at this. Reed Miller just doesn't seem to have the straight line speed to catch up to Ove, but Ove keeps locking up those front tires. I mean, I expect it's going to be really hard for him to make it to the end of this race. It's side by side behind them, though, for between Ben Rafter and Sean Campbell, as they're able to sort it out before they get into the turn one. Campbell gets by.
Position down, which is impressive, though, because it was 11th place for Ben Rafter when he qualified. He's all the way up to 8th. He was in 7th there before. More of the GTPs going past. That was Olsen.
Schneider's getting held up by Lake, and Hovdahl now has an opportunity. This is that battle she talked about. They're up to that battle for the lead now.
Going around the outside, getting past Leskala. And then, speaking of lockups, Villirola smoking that right front. They come around through the little orange tree and then down into the duckspill, managing to get his nose inside. It looks like Schneider will be able to make a gap.
That's really holding up. Ooh, that was close between Rolla and Hovdahl. Rolla just getting onto the power a little bit too early there. But yeah, this GTP battle has now separated significantly. Ooh, it's a battle between Phil Lake and Hugh Haycox as they're battling for 3rd position, and that's actually holding up Aitor Sintis-Guindo, I believe.
Looks like Lake's going to get the shot off the corner on that one. Hugh Haycox, as he nearly squeezes the likes of Fabian Gerber down to the inside through Water Tower. Up along the front stretch, and finally they're cleared for a brief moment before they'll have more of those prototypes absolutely flying through. This looks like this has split up a number of our prototype fights, except for that 2nd place, but many of them have spread apart. Here's that P2 battle. Schneider ahead of Hovdahl.
Yeah, this battle is definitely not going anywhere with Hovdahl putting some major pressure on Schneider. It's awesome to see these two guys battling as heavily as they have been. Look at this, Hovdahl looking at the inside. Can't quite do it there as they go through Ferratura. But man, these GTPs have such pace now. And look at the amount of slip angle they're getting coming off of these corners. These two guys are absolutely pushing right now.
It looks like that traffic was much kinder to our leader in this prototype class because it was about 4 seconds when they hit the GTOs. It's now 8 seconds between Gall and Schneider, who we're riding on board with. And Schneider is probably less concerned, though, about that gap to the leader and more worried about this dark blue, white, and red prototype
Schneider
as he goes wide.
corner.
Yeah, he did. Coming out of the junction there, you can see him wide and underneath. goes Hovdahl taking
Schneider's coming
away
back.
P2. Oh, can he get this, Adam?
I don't know. This is going to be really close. Schneider with so much straight line speed. Hovdahl outside of the draft can't hold on to it. Can Schneider outbrake him into turn one? It's going to be side by side as they go through the Senna S. It's still side by side. Hovdahl able to hold on to it, but Schneider's got the better straight line speed, and he's going to be able to pull down the Red Pasta. He's going to have to outbrake him into Interlagos, Joe.
I think Matt's found his match on drivers that like to trim out the wing because Schneider looks much quicker in a straight line, and that is going to retain the position. What a defense from the number 9. We're not even halfway through this race, and we've seen enough battling for 3 races.
And that's the benefit of an open setup series. You got 2 drivers who are tackling how to drive this car very differently, and Schneider's got advantages where Hovdahl's got disadvantages, and vice versa. And that's why you're seeing this battle be so fascinating right here. There's not one approach to a setup in this series.
And don't forget Sanchez, who qualified on the front row, or excuse me, on third rather, I should say, has fallen down to 4th. And he's now catching up to this pair because of their fighting. We've hopped on board, watching from the helmet cam as he gives chase on the number 7 and the number 9.
There's a pretty decent tow for Hovdahl. We have a wreck ahead of them. That was Oren Laskin, unfortunately, who had just wrecked out on the front stretch. It looked like it was a single car incident for himself, but Hovdahl and Schneider, Hovdahl just can't catch up to him on the straights, Joe. I don't see, even if Hovdahl goes by, how he'd stay ahead of Schneider with such long straights that we have here at Interlagos.
Right. If he's going to get the slipstream, this is a good place to have it, but I don't think he's quite close enough from the perspective of Sanchez. Pass is not on.
Oh, and Carlos Fonseca actually just had a big moment with Ben Laughter. Those two got together, a GTO and a GTP, coming through coming through Jincao. This was in a battle for position with Sean Campbell and Ben Laughter for 7th and 8th.
There's Fonseca down to the inside. Oh, he was slowing up because he wasn't sure if Campbell was going to take the apex, and unfortunately, it's like Laughter just kind of nudged him around.
Yeah, Laughter got on the radio and apologized, but unfortunately the damage has been done. But it's just so hard to manage the multi-class around here. The speeds are so different. The GTPs are actually quite slow through the center of the corner versus the GTOs, and that's where you see those kinds of incidents happening.
Let's take a look at the battle for 5th. 2 drivers we've seen for a lot of years now in the Kamel series, Reed Miller and Uwe Trangerade. This is for P5. They're coming down to the Duxville. We're on board with Miller, looking from his roof up ahead Norwegian.
Yeah, this is the battle that has been going on for years. They were battling. These two were battling each other back when I was racing in the series a couple of years ago, and these guys, whenever they can actually get on track next to each other, their pace is fairly similar. Ove tends to stretch Reed a little bit on the straight line speed and on corner entry, but Reed Miller is a lot better at maintaining race pace over the course of an entire session. And so these two guys push each other very well. That's why you see them next to each other in this race as well.
Not getting the tow that he would have liked up this main straight. I would have thought that he'd be a lot closer as a tiny little lockup from the 14 into the Senna S doesn't allow any sort of opportunity from Reed. And Hugh Haycock's unhappy about something. Oh, he had a moment with Javier Mosquera, unfortunately. Oh, he had a good catch on this too. As let's take a look at the replay.
Yeah, This is one of those moments as an Audi where you just kind of throw up your hands because there's not much you can do. Here comes Hugh Haycock through the Senna S. As he goes through the curve of Seoul, the Audi's got to push out as he takes his normal racing line. Now we have the GTP coming up and trying to go around the outside, and as the Audi pushes out, he ends up clipping the GTP, and that's what ends up sending Hugh wide. So we're going to jump on board here. And there you see Hugh trying to hang on to it. Wow. But unfortunately, there's not much he can do. He just gets pushed out wide due to the nature of the car. And, I mean, it's a miracle it wasn't a worse wreck, and that's why Hugh's pissed.
The speed difference was illustrated perfectly right there. I could not believe how fast he zipped past. As that certainly was a fantastic catch there from Hugh Haycock, but it cost him a lot of time, and Phil Lake is now 3 seconds up the road. In the meantime, looking at Heitor Sintes Guindo now. This is between himself and Fabian Gerber.
Heitor Sintes Guindo and Fabian Gerber. Fabian, remember, trying to recover from that incident that he had earlier on with Schneider and Hovdal. So that's why he's back here. And wow, very tight between himself and the Audi right there.
Working their way towards the junction now. Trying to see if he can keep up with his rival. But remember, Fabian might be dealing with a bit of car damage on that Nissan. And that might be slowing him down. This will give us a good view because I believe... No, he was hit on the left side, excuse me. So we need to see the other side of the car to really kind of try and spot what he's got.
Yeah, he looks like he's managing it just fine. He might have a little bit of floor damage, which would be affecting his straight line speed. But it looks like he might have a little... Yeah, it looks like it's possible he's got a little bit of floor damage from the hop that he took when he got contact. But Ben Lafter and Sean Campbell are really duking it out, Joe.
That's exactly what I was just looking at. Ben Lafter really chucked it in down into turn 8, and it didn't quite work. Locks him up yet again. Let's get a replay on this pass attempt because I'm amazed that Campbell managed to hold on to this spot. It certainly was ambitious from Ben. Back it up just a little bit more here as this was down into turn 8. Here we go.
Yeah, this ambitious move is one that we've seen quite a few times in real racing as well. You just kind of chuck it up the inside. And Campbell, you know, props to Campbell for realizing it was happening and not turning in on Ben, because that could have ended both of their races right there. But look at this. Campbell just able to hold on to the position by taking a little bit more speed through Pittarino.
So we come back live. The battle for second still rages on. Nick Schneider ahead of Matthias Hovdal, and he's been tantalizingly close with Sanchez actually quite a ways behind them now. That car that's between them is Gleason.
Take a look at this. Nicholas Schneider and Hovdal. Hovdal pushed off track a little bit by an Audi, who ended up going a little bit wide through the corner. And now it's going to be really close side by side between Albrecht Liebenau and Pablo Rangel. Nicholas Schneider and Hovdal cutting their way through, but man, that was pretty dangerous stuff there.
Yeah, Matt just not confident he would have the space on track when they came off the corner. Kept his foot in it, credit to him, and he didn't spin it or wreck it, so he's still in the fight, but man, is he risking everything.
Yeah, he's definitely risking everything, and I think Nicholas Schneider's starting to run out of rear tires. He's starting to slide a lot on corner exit with those tires, starting to get a lot of wheel spin. And if Hovdal sees that, he just needs to take it a little easy, because I don't think they're going to have an opportunity to catch up to Alex Gall up ahead of them. So if he just realizes that this is probably his position, second, that he could probably get, if he takes it a little easy on the corner exit, saves up a little bit of tire, and keeps the pressure on Nicholas Schneider, he might have a good opportunity for a pass later on once Schneider burns off all this stuff.
And as we were riding on board, that was another big moment for Matty Hovdal as his car got loose, clipping the grass, coming through Water Tower. More traffic here. This is not a great spot for Schneider. They're both going to have to take away the exit from the GTOs, but they get through clean.
Yeah, they got through clean, and while this battle's going on, Reed Miller and Ove Trangerade are once again almost side by side as they go through Ferradura, but Reed Miller's actually pushed wide by our leader, Alex Gall, who has to cut through the middle of this battle. Ove Trangerade offline now. Reed Miller going to take this opportunity to send it deep into the S's and into Pinarino to try and gain that time back.
Yeah, he went from being side by side with Uwe to now being a full second back in that one little exchange. Both of them locking up. We've been seeing a lot of locking up, I feel like, from these Audis today. I'm not sure what's causing that.
It's because of the tire wear problems, Joe, is that if you, the general principle for the Audis used to be that you run a lot of rearward brake bys so that you end up pointing the car into the center of the corner. But with the way that the tires are now, that ends up wearing out the tires too much on corner exit, and you can't get power down later on in a race. So they've pushed the brake bys forward, and the drivers are still adjusting for that.
Now, speaking of using up your stuff, first 2 weeks we were at tracks with a lot of heavy braking zones with long straights leading into them. Is this one as bad on the brake wear that we've been talking about recently?
I mean, I would say so, but that's one of the things we're going to have to keep our eyes on with the GTPs. There's quite a few heavy braking zones. You've got Turn 1, you've got Interlagos, you've got Ferradura, which is actually a pretty heavy braking zone for the GTPs, also into the S. Junção. There's plenty of places to get that brake fade going. It looks like they've been managing it pretty well, but we still have 15 minutes left in this race.
As we watch Trengrade and Miller, we switch over now, because we need to keep an eye on whether or not Schneider is going to give up this position. LaFilippe, who is kind of in an awkward place for the number 9, leaps out of the way eventually. And this doesn't give Matt a chance to try and stick his nose in, but he's definitely there, at least within a car length, making sure that any little slip up will give him a chance to be side by side.
Yeah, and this is where Hovdal, I think he's got a little bit more downforce on his machine than Schneider does this race, but now they're going to get held up here behind Hugh Haycox, who's now fallen 5 seconds behind Phil Lake. So as they get going, look at this. Hovdal trying to get a little bit of a toe off of the Audi, which is helping him. If he can tuck up right underneath that rear wing, it's possible that he can hang on to Schneider down this front straight. But if he wants to get by, he can't do it here, because he'll just get passed once again once they get down to the Renault Pasta. But he's going to make the attempt anyway, try and get Schneider to take an awkward line, and he succeeds.
Wow. Schneider was so distracted trying to break the slipstream, he missed his braking point, and Hovdal takes it with ease up to second place for the number 7. It was a long time of trying, but patience, my friend, is a virtue.
It's the mind games, Joe. Worked out well for him this time, and that's exactly why you see people make those dodges to the inside, even when you know that they can't actually make the pass. They're trying to get the guy to look in the mirror and make a mistake. Worked out that time.
Well, that breaks that battle apart, at least for the time being. Let's check back in at our GTOs. Both Trengrade and Miller, as well as Laughter and Campbell, have been very tight together. In fact, Laughter and Campbell are side by side. Down to the Interlagos, a touch between them sends Campbell off and into the runoff, but he catches it eventually.
This has been such a tense fight between the two of them, Ben Laughter and Sean Campbell, and that ended up just being just a little bit of ghost contact between the two of them, ends up sending Sean Campbell sideways. He's recovered well, but it's going to take him a little bit of time to catch back up to Ben.
Well, I thought that maybe Ben would hand it back. We'll see if maybe he elects to a little bit farther ahead, or is that for position behind them? Yeah, that's for position, so maybe he doesn't want to give that away, because usually this is very much a fair play sort of series where drivers try to play gentlemanly with one another. The good news is they were kind of laughing back and forth over the radio with one another. Once again, for the battle for fifth.
Reed! Oh my goodness, Reed off track there just a little bit, trying to stay on the back of Ove Trengrade. Just a little bit of aero wash, and believe it or not, it does affect these Audis. It's easy enough to do if you get caught offline. But Ove Trengrade's got Lars Olsen to his inside and is still locking up as he goes into turn 1.
Down through the Curva de Sol. Catches back up a little bit. He didn't give up too much here. Within half a second of Trengrade trying to challenge for that top 5. Racking up those stats. He's got to take one position if he wants it this time. Plunging down through the Interlagos. These two are through there.
We've had a gigantic wreck in turn 1 with Robin Happich, Albrecht Liebenau, and Zachary Sears in the GTP as well.
Oof. This starts with Liebenau and Rangel.
Here they go. Nice side-by-side battle as they dove it into turn 1. And that looked like that was Liebenau, who just ends up turning in a little bit on Rangel, and then they make contact as they head down towards the Senna S, and that's what ends up holding everyone up.
That green and white 26, that was Jamie Hamill-Smith making a brilliant dodge to get around it, and that's going to put him into 10th, thanks to his quick thinking. You can see him continuing on through the infield. We're down to 10 minutes left to go.
And Joe, while we were watching that, Ben Laughter and Sean Campbell, Ben Laughter and
Laughter lost
Martin
spots,
Kraytrick. Martin Kraytrick and Ben Laughter got together as they were going through the Interlagos.
I think this looks like about a minute ago, I think, that this one happened.
Yeah, there they are, right after the contact, and this was a late move from Kraytrick. Here we go, as we head down Renault Pasta. You're going to see Ben Laughter go to the apex, and Kraytrick's just going to send it straight up the inside.
Whoa, yeah, that was not working. Well,
Yeah, I don't know about that one, Joe.
I don't know if you believe in karma, but feels like some right there, because since he shoved off his rival before. Let's take a look back at 5th between Trangerade and Miller. Actually, we're looking at Alex Gall here, our leader. Still another lap led, but down to 7 seconds. Hopdall gained a little bit. This is the battle that we just mentioned for P5, the 14 leading the 12.
I don't know how much longer Trangerade can lock up those front brakes. I think at some point when iRacing gets those flat spots into this sim and it starts to blow those tires more, I think Ove's going to have some big problems, because he's been locking up in the middle, in the center section of this race track since probably the 3rd or 4th lap, and it's lap 20 at this point, and he's still hanging on. But those front tires have got to feel horrible at this point.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some motors inside people's wheels that get worn out from the feedback as they rattle away after some of these lockups. Yet again, both of them, wheels just smoking as they go through. And look at how much closer he is now. Reed Miller could have a good shot, but he doesn't seem to have the grip.
Wasn't a great shift from Reed Miller up into the 3rd gear off the corner, so unfortunately it puts him a little bit too far back to have an opportunity to get onto Ove, but Ove just cannot get that car turned in. It's this really struggling center corner. Oh, Reed Miller! Oh my goodness! Contact with Guillermo del Toro. That was fascinating.
Yeah, because Miller almost acted like nothing happened, and Guy found himself facing almost the wrong way. This is where it goes down. That's Guy coming up on him and practically rams him.
I think he expected Reed Miller to take the apex of that turn, but the Audi line is actually in the middle of the racetrack for that particular turn, because you want to carry as much speed as you can out of it. And so I think Guy just got a little bit confused there.
Thankfully, they're both able to continue racing, and don't think it even cost Miller anything unless he's got some sort of suspension damage. Here we go.
Here we go again, and let's see whether or not Reed can get that shift up at the 3rd effectively this time. He does, so now he's got his best opportunity, and he hasn't quite a while, but watch him lose time as he makes sure that he takes it nice and easy over that nice sweeping turn on speed in his boxes. And here we go, Reed Miller. He's going to look to the outside this time through turn 1. He's got to be careful. Trangerade might lock it up again.
Down into the corner. He's giving plenty of berth. Too much. Oh, but he's given the back the same from Trangerade. The battle sweeps through Curvita's Soul with the outside line on the 12 car. He drops back slightly, gets the momentum back up and running. He's got a tiny bit of overlap. They're heading towards the Descida del Lago, breaking into the corner, trying to get it to steer into there. And once again, Miller does not have the desired line, and finally he gives up the ghost.
Trangerade almost going off track there on the exit of the corner, but Reed Miller hanging on to it. These two guys just can't get these cars to turn. Both of them going straight as they hit each of the braking zones. I mean, they're going to have to put some sort of rear brake bias in this thing to try and get this thing to turn if they want to try and make any sort of passes. Reed's going to have to get that nose pointed in the right direction.
Down into the Ducksbill once again, and just leaving a trail behind him. Trangerade is unconcerned about those tires. Let's see, as they head out of the junction, this is another good spot for Reed to try and make something happen. This is where it kicked off last time, but he's much farther back.
I don't think he's going to have an opportunity this time, but one interesting thing to note, Joe, Billy Rolla, who had a 2-second gap over Yuko Leskola for the lead of this race in the GTOs, it's now down under a second with less than 10 minutes to go.
Oh, Phil Lake's in pit lane. Is this a drive-through?
It's damage, Joe. He's got major damage.
Oh, no.
This was on the front straight. This was right before the pit entry. It was contact with Jay Gleason.
No, he did do a drive-through. He just kept on going.
But Joe, it was contact with Jay Gleason on the front stretch. Major damage to Phil Lake on his left side. I think he was forced into the pits.
Fortunately, won't be able to take a glance at this one, so back up to our leader, 0.8 of a second between himself and Leskola. Rolla is the first one. Is he actually the first one to lead a lap other than Yuko this whole season?
No, I believe Hugh Haycock's led one lap earlier on. I believe last race, one lap before Villy was able to get by him due to a really poor start for Villy and a good start for Hugh. Here they have Martin Krajcik coming up behind them. Villy Rolla and Yuko Leskola still pretty separated though, but Yuko is definitely gaining. Villy's starting to lose the tires a little bit as we cross under 5 to go. 5 minutes to go, rather.
Preservation of the equipment that you have is the name of the game. These are old cars, and they wear out much quicker than modern ones do. Something that I'm actually glad to see start to enter in here in iRacing, forcing you to not be just completely flat out the entire time. So who has managed things better? Both tires and brakes, managing to wheel this to the finish as quickly as possible, as gently as possible.
And then you throw in the wild card of the traffic, and you never know what you're going to get here towards the end of these races. Who knows why Yuko has gained that time? It looks like they're both pretty even on pace, with a 131 flat for Villy and a 131.1 for Yuko last lap. Villy cuts the corner a little bit there. Hopefully he didn't go slow down, because that would definitely play a factor into this race. But Yuko and Villy definitely have maintained their stuff, but they've got lapped cars and lapped Audis up ahead of them. And lapping a car of your same class is always a challenge around here, especially because the blue flags are provisional.
Yeah, it's information only. You're just simply not required to intentionally hamper someone from behind.
That was deep for Yuko Leskola. Almost couldn't get it slowed up on the exit of the corner. Loses him a little bit of time.
I think we're going to be 2 to go at the line, which is coming up soon. Alex Gall is now hitting junction. Similar to what we've seen with Ruola, he's also lost a little bit. It was up to about 8 seconds over Havdal. It's now down to 4.6. Now, some of this could be just managing his race and not taking as many risks in the traffic. But as we cross the line, it's actually going to be relatively tight. I think it's actually 3 laps to go.
Yeah, this is a pretty decent race for This is an amazing race for Alex Gall. The way he's been able to manage the gap, manage the traffic. I mean, we haven't even talked about any woes that he's had through the traffic, and that's definitely saying something. It's a real challenge for these drivers to be able to manage the traffic as well, especially with the new pace advantage that the GTB has over the GTO. So it's definitely a big deal. But look at this. Reed Miller has actually made the pass on Ove Trangarade. Ove Trangarade now trying to fight back.
Not sure how long ago it was, but Trangarade nearly had a good shot at trying to fight him down into the Descida del Lago, because they had some traffic check up Reed. Ooh, look at him using every inch of track and then some. He knows he's at the end of the race. He's using up a few of those incident points since he knows he's safe.
Absolutely, this is a great opportunity. He looks to the inside, but Reed's got him covered off pretty well there. Locks it up a little bit into the corner. They have Patrick Herring, who's going to come through and make contact with the rear end of Ove Trangarade there, because he's currently not in, well, geez, he is kind of in a battle. There's not for position, though. This is Xavier Sanchez and Javier Mosquera who are tucking it behind them. Look at how close it is between Reed and Ove, though, as they come through Mugello.
A look through the inside of that corner is rare, but it splits them apart. And indeed, 2 laps to go. Our leader just came by the line with enough for another pass as they stream up the hill here. This is getting tense, and the traffic once again just not abating.
Yeah, and that's going to break up that battle for sure, but the battle for the lead in the GTOs has only gotten closer. It's under 0.5 of a second now, Joe, between Villy Rolla and Yuko Leskola for that top position. And they've got Alex Gall, who's probably going to lap them this lap. And if that's the case, they've got 2 more of these. They've got only 1 more of these to go after they get lapped here. Look at that, deep on the brakes for Yuko.
So they're going to be lapped by Duke as well. Duke having some connection issues on my screen. Hopefully that does not cause problems. They sometimes have to pass so close to one another. I'd hate to see some sort of glitch catch them out. He's going to find them. Oh, yeah, and that's going to really compromise Leskola.
But Gall has not passed them, and he's only 0.8 back, 0.7. So he is going to pass them before they get to the start-finish line. So this will be white flag for both of our leaders.
Indeed. easily passed with just a few seconds to spare. Alex Gall takes the white flag, but so does Vili Rola. Let's see who can bring this one home and the top spot. Can Rola finally stop the onslaught that has been Juuso Leskala this season and a half here as they come down towards the Retta Aposta? He's spread himself farther away from the number two.
Late on the brakes from Juuso. That was the last attempt from Juuso. I believe he's going to lose too much time to Vili Rola, but that was almost a disaster for both of them.
Really sent it a little too hard, and I agree, unless we get some sort of tragic mistake or incident with Vili Rola, he's got this one in the bag. As Alex Gall as well, 5.5 seconds ahead of anybody else, just going past the lapped car of Paul Duke, or is he? Paul's not giving way. Again, he's not required to leap out to the side, just needs to facilitate the pass where it is possible. And I was going to say that would have been a good spot to maybe do it, but he decided not to. Doesn't matter, because Alex Gall is going to take the win here today at Interlagos for round 3 of the Kamel GT series. Vili Rola behind him, a second ahead of Juuso Leskala, is the man to put a halt to things, at least for today, and win the GTO race at Interlagos.
Still, that battle between Reed Miller and Ove Trangarade is over. Ove's front tire is completely gone at this point. He can't get the car to turn in at all, and Reed Miller, now going through Junção, is going to come home with this 4th position. Worth mentioning, Hugh Haycock's in 3rd, an impressive drive from him.
Absolutely. He's taken a shining to this Audi GTO after coming over from the SRF being his regular car. Reed Miller going to get 4th in the end over Trangarade. I can report that Hovdal and Schneider also rounded out our podium on the prototype class. But it looks like all of our battles have unfortunately gone away. So as the last of them come across the line, we're going to go to a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. Welcome back to Interlagos round 3 in the Kamel GT series. Was a fun one as usual, but it was Alex Gall taking his 2nd win of the season out of 3 rounds He'll finish ahead of Matthias Hovdal, who continues to show that he is a serious threat. He was only about 5 seconds back at the line. Nick Schneider was in the hunt for it for some time, but he got shaken off the racing line and wound up settling for third. Still a great climb from sixth. Sanchez went down to fourth after his third place starting position, and Aitor Sintes Guindo took P5. Fabian Gerber from the front row down to sixth. It's not been a good season for the number 3. His brother actually finished right behind him in seventh. Laust Olsen finished P8, and then how about Zach Sears? He went from 20th and did qualify, mind you, down to 9th. Not the same for Guy Otero, rather. He did not qualify, but he did climb his way up to P10. Carlos Fonseca finished in 11th behind him. Then it's Mosquera finishing at 12th. These are drivers who are a lap down. Lauenstein in 13th, Lafilippe in 14th, Kraytrick 15th, Duke 16th, and then Gleason in P17.
Villarola comes home with the win. The first person to win against Yuko Leskala in quite a long time. Yuko Leskala just couldn't get it done on the final laps, had some traffic that ended up getting in his way, and then a last late lunge into Desita Lago that just did not work. Hugh Haycock's a very impressive drive for him, extremely consistent, even though he finished 14 seconds behind Yuko, comes home with the third position. Reed Miller and Ove Trangrade duking it out all day, slowed themselves up a little bit, but Reed comes home in fourth, with Ove Trangrade in fifth position. Phil Lake had contact late in the race on the pit straight, taking him from third all the way down to sixth. Then we have Franco Scurry, an impressive return for Franco, coming back into the series after being gone for quite a while, moves himself up 4 positions to 7th. Then we have Ben Laughter coming home in 8th today, ahead of Pablo Rangel, who and those two were battling side by side for quite a while this race as well, with Brian Shanahan coming home in 10th. Albrecht Liebenau comes home in 11th, with Maximilian Thomason in 12th. Hideki Koibisto not having a great race himself, coming home in 13th today with Robin Happich in 14th. Ian Haycock's 15th today with Robert Murphy in 16th. Mika Tupola 17th, Jamie Hamill-Smith 18th, and we have the drivers who had some serious issues. Christian Arribas 19th, Sean Campbell 20th, and the rest of them either did not finish or were in the pits for quite a while today.
Looks like we have our second place finisher here, Matthias Hovdal from the Prototypes. So let's take a chat with him after what looked like a fun race with Nick Schneider. Matt, it wasn't a win, but you certainly had some excitement on course. Let's see if we... Matt, do we have a copy?
Yeah, sorry, I was muted there for a sec.
It looked like you had a lot of fun out there with Nick Schneider and actually managed to shake him off the racing line. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I could tell he was running a much lower downforce setup than me, which from my personal experience at previous races this season, really causes a lot of problems with tire wear towards the end. So I figured, I could see he was struggling more and more, and I got that good run on him with a bit of help from an Audi as well. And that allowed me to get close enough to really make a serious threat into T1. And he was weaving back and forth, and I think he focused a little bit more on his mirrors than the track ahead for a brief moment, and that was all it took, But he drove really well. He was under pressure for a long time there, and he held on to it for a long time. So great drive from him, and a really fun battle.
Yeah, we kind of thought that he also got a little too distracted when we watched that happen. But a 5th and 2 second places, and you were only about less than 5 seconds behind Alex Gall. You think you can try and keep him honest this championship and go for the gold?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's a long season. I don't know if I can do all the races, but the ones I can do, I'll try my best. And at the end of the season, we'll see. Maybe I can make a serious threat.
We saw at least one driver and the GTOs run afoul of the incident limit and have a drive-through here today. But next week we go to Circuit of the Americas. You're going to be extra focused to try and keep it within the boundaries?
Yeah, I mean, there's no other choice. So, that's kind of a downer about that track for me. But, it is what it is. So, we just have to try to keep count of the incidents and not step over that drive-through limit.
Well, we'll cross our fingers for you again. Congratulations on your second podium in a row.
Yeah, thanks.
Matthias Hovdahl finishing P2 today. And then up next, we have our fourth place finisher, Reed Miller, who Adam has caught up with.
Yeah, Reed, a very exciting day for you and Ove Trangrade. Your guys' battle captured our attention for a lot of the race. But talk to me about how it was to battle with Ove and dealing with the traffic today.
Yeah, I had a good race with Ove today. It was very fun. The traffic was like hectic, just hard to keep track of. It was, and I think it played in my favor a little bit, being behind most of the race. And it was a really big struggle to keep the tires from going off. So it was a good battle.
Yeah, I noticed both of you guys were locking up the tires quite a bit, the front tires especially, quite a bit heading into the turns. Is that just an adjustment that you guys have had to make due to the new tire wear?
This is how this track kind of works. It really pushes the front tires really hard. Every track does it to this car, but this is probably an extreme example. But yeah, it's harder to manage the overall heat in the tires now, I think. So it creates good, interesting battles.
For sure. And speaking of extreme examples of front tire wear, looking next week, we have Circuit of the Americas, which I know in the Audi tends to be a little bit of a dog bear to drive around. But talk to me about your thoughts heading into that race.
Yeah, it's not the most fun track to drive this car on, but it'll be good. It's always intense with multi-class there because the track limits are like really wide, so it just kind of a lot goes on. It'll be exciting.
And Reed, you've had some very consistent finishes over the course of this series and over the course of this season, even up to this point in the third race. What's your goal for your finishing position here in the championship?
It's going week by week, trying to pick up more pace and close the gap to the leaders. We'll see how it ends up. I'm just trying to win races. That's all.
All right, Reed. Well, it's great to talk to you, and fantastic race today with Ove, and congrats on finishing fourth.
Thanks.
That was Reed Miller, a fourth place finisher in the Audis, and Joe has caught up with Phil Lake, who finishes today in sixth, but had a little bit of a moment.
Yes, he had a few moments. I think he and Hugh Haycock certainly had a lot of back and forth out there. Tell us about those battles there, Phil.
Yeah, it's hard to remember all the way back at the start of the race there. Yeah, we had I lost a little bit of ground to Hugh off the start because there was just smoke and Nissans everywhere into turn one, and I lifted and I don't think anyone else lifted, so I realised my mistake and I lost a position there. And then Hugh seemed quite keen to keep hold of third. I kind of wanted to stick with the leaders, so at one point I made a move down his outside into turn one and I lifted just to kind of show him that I didn't want to fight, but then we ended up having a bit of a fight, so we lost the leaders, and then the effort it took to catch them back up again cost me later on in the race, I think, and then obviously I got clipped by a Nissan later on as well. So
yeah, we saw you duck through the pit lane. Was that a penalty that you received, or did you just find yourself unceremoniously kind of shoved down there by that Nissan?
No, I was being a bit tactical with the off tracks. It was a pretty last minute decision to swap back to the Audi, and I was still kind of finding my feet a little bit, and so I was picking up a lot of 1Xs, turn 3 and 4, and well, everywhere really, and so I was managing it, and I was kind of comfortable to make it to the end, just being a bit careful, and I had a bit of a gap at that point, and then the 4X from the contact just tipped me over the edge.
Well, I have to ask then, has the prodigal son returned to the Audis for good, or are you going to get back into the Nissans again later?
I think I'm back in the Audi. The whole time in the Nissan was just a whole frustrating experience for me. So this was pretty frustrating too. So I don't know. I'm either going to be back in the Audi or I'm going to be taking a break.
That's understandable. Sometimes those are necessary. Well, commiserations that it wasn't a better finish, but hopefully we'll get to talk to you out at Circuit of the Americas.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
It was Phil in and around the lake, finishing sixth. And finally, one last chat with Ben Lafter, P8 for him today. Adam is ready with him.
Yeah, Ben, you, Pablo, and Franco had some real knock it down, drag it out fights here throughout this race. Talk to me about your battles that you had on track today.
Yeah, it was me and Sean and Franco actually, but it was hats off the doff of the old cap to Sean Campbell. That was a blast of a race, right up until I got unceremoniously launched in turn whatever by Martin. But he's apologized. I'm not mad at him, but I'm mad at him at the same time. Great time, really fun race.
Yeah, it's hard not to be frustrated when you lose an opportunity like that. But that being said, coming home in 8th place today, just how hard was it with the traffic out there? Because this track is not super conducive to letting faster classes by.
There are a couple of spots. It's coming to mind mainly is the very final corner, that bent straight going up to the start-finish line, where this Audi, as wide as that track is, this Audi has one laser-focused line where it works. Anything off that line doesn't work. But the problem is when you're letting really fast traffic that can go through left, right, upside down, full throttle, it's so easy for them to choose the wrong line and throw you off. And then that grass grabs you and sucks you off into the wall. So it's a really challenging place. The closing rates are crazy. The way that the Audi needs to track out and so many of those little hairpins it's really, really challenging in multi-class, but a lot of fun. This track is perfect for this car.
I 100% agree with you, Ben. And yeah, those frustrations of that final sweeping corner, it's one of the things that you don't really understand it till you get into the Audi and try and take that corner and you realize, oh, I have to take it perfect, otherwise I wash out. But Ben, really good race today and fantastic finish. Is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
I want to thank Goodyear for making tires that last exactly 73% of the race and then fall off so bad. Man, that was a struggle.
For sure, Ben. Well, we look forward to seeing you next week at Circuit of the Americas, and congrats on your 8th place finish.
You guys, take it easy.
That was Ben Laughter finishing 8th in the Audi GTO class, and back to you, Joe.
Did I detect a hint of sarcasm in that? Just maybe a little bit?
Just maybe.
Just a hair. Anyways, as we wrap things up, a big thank you, a genuine thank you goes out to the Kamel GT community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. But also, we want to thank the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com or check out our social media outlets listed there at the bottom of the screen. And if you'd like to support us, check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storeenvy.com. Link is in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC, because next week we're going to Circuit of the Americas down in Texas. That'll be Saturday, April 10th at 1 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.